the current news which is circulating in the market is positive for XRP as an asset. Then if you look at the fundamentals and the macro, this really is becoming more and more interesting because now they're talking not about a lot of months but few weeks, which is again something bullish. Because if you are looking at the entire market, then yeah, you do have something like this which is still shaking the markets. But then again, if you are an XRP holder, you're looking for what this asset's fundamental looks like. And that actually takes you to the entire idea of what it is doing right now. So that's in the price action side of it. You go look at where we are because the pattern is important, great, but only when it happens at a support level. So we now have a bullish pattern emerging on a support level which is positive. But then you zoom in to see where we are right now on the short-term charts. Yeah, we're getting an engulfing candle. Yes, it does show you an engulfing candle with a divergence, which is again positive, and that happening at the support level of a channel. Now, if you guys remember, we had this post before, right? Saying we are going to actually most likely bounce. And right now we are seeing that as happening. We are slowly taking that bounce. But keep this in mind. Bitcoin is kind of playing the market, right? So if Bitcoin decides to drop, then the market is going to drop. On the other end, as we talked in yesterday's video and day before yesterday, dollar is going to go up. Now it is going up. It reached somewhere close to that resistance range, but it still has some room to the upside. Now you can ask, what does that really mean to us? At a time when Bitcoin is breaking through, right? That range has been broken. Keep in mind, you can be bullish Bitcoin when Bitcoin dominance breaks higher and breaks back above this resistance range. If not, it's not going to be a great news. You just have to take a step back and look at this monthly chart. What do you guys really see here on the monthly chart? What do you guys really see on the weekly chart, right? You have to zoom out from there and think about what you are looking in the fundamentals as well. Because yes, when you come on to the daily, this is the clear structure you're observing. If the price come back up close to 27 and break this range, that's the only bullish scenario. Whereas most likely if you don't do that and if you're slow, you're going to get rejected. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of the crypto world. Yes, we've been talking about this as a possibility, and right now we see that happening in the market. But it is also interesting to watch how the Bitcoin moves on an intraday chart is impacting the entire crypto market. Right now, you see we broke to the downside. Yes, agreed. But then we have a short-term level of support which we formed while we did this wick to the downside. Great. Now we are bouncing from that level. So it is really going to be interesting to see where we are now. So you zoom in further, go on to our hourly chart. And I'm like, okay, we are still moving up. We don't really have a bigger divergence as of now. On a 30-minute chart, it would be a little bit clearer. Now we have a little bit of divergence here, right? We've been going up and we've slowed down, but we didn't actually get that big of a divergence. Once we get a divergence on a forward chart, then we can say, okay, we are slowing down. But on an hourly chart basis, we cannot trust the market because this is crypto market. That's an entirely volatile segment of the markets around the globe. So while we look at this and say, okay, we understand the fact that the stock market here, the Dow has been down, but the NDQ closed higher. So that's like, okay, some part of it is moving because we know what's happening with the AI segment of things. What happened with NVIDIA precisely, right? So while we actually focus on this, it is also equally important for us to look for what's happening on the daily, what's happening on the weekly, what's happening on the monthly. This is a monthly chart showing you that the price action is slowing down. Now, one of the positive scenario which we can look back to almost exactly same monthly candle was here. So if that's the case, I'm so happy for the market. We are going back up. Now the question is, how low did we drop back then? So the top was put in here and the bottom came somewhere close to this range, which is like a 20% drop. So from the recent top, if we take the current price action, we are somewhere close to 15%. And if we take that 21%, we come somewhere till 24,000. Even in that case, we are still at 26,500 now. We have to drop further to reach that level. So that's what the Bitcoin market actually shows you. And then you actually go further looking at the Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance kind of highlight you. We are inside this pattern for sure. We need to see a breakout. And the direction of the breakout kind of gives us where altcoins are moving. Because right now you can actually go look at the majority of the market like gold, like silver, whatever you want to look at as an indicator to observe the pulse of the market. It kind of shows you, okay, it's coming back towards a trend line, which is positive as of now unless you break that trend line, because it's not only the trend line support, it also happens to be a previous resistance turning into a support. So we'll have to see how the market react to that particular price point. But on the ether side of things, when you're on a weekly, you can say, okay, there can be a bearish candle popping up, going to the downside, making all this panic. That can be the case, right? You cannot neglect that odds in the market for sure, because we actually got rejected at the level of this resistance. We faked it out. So if we come back to the support, there's nothing to panic. That's normal in the market. Because the RSI has been going up, and even if you drop down to that level, you're still trending higher. Just take a look at what the RSI is showing you. It's coming close to that level of support, but it hasn't quite reached that level. So it can still create a panic wick in that idea. Now, go look at XRP towards Bitcoin, because it actually gives you a little bit more perspective, right? We are still here on the weekly. The monthly looks like this. We haven't actually even started a good chunk of run up. We're showing a double bottom on the monthly chart. On the weekly side of things, it's showing, okay, I'm trying to make higher highs, higher lows. I'm trying to push things higher. Then you actually zoom in, again, go on to a daily chart and see we are still working on a bull flag, which we have not yet broken to the upside or to the downside. So over here, we are working on this. It's fine, because the reason for that is we had another bull flag, which actually got a little bit extended, and we broke that to the upside. So if we manage to break this, we still have something to do in the market. And that's where on the USD side of things, we reach most probably somewhere close to 0.6 to 0.7, 0.8, that range. It's not a big run up, but it will still be a big relief to see, okay, we are not going down, rather we are actually moving to the upside. Now, take that as a factor and look at in the RSI. Look at the same idea on the RSI. It shows you like, okay, I'm trying to break this to the upside. I'm trying to retest this range and bounce off. So if Bitcoin actually helps the market by slowly getting into that range which we talked about previously, winning this retest, it's positive. But if Bitcoin actually happens to get rejected from this deadly range, now it's a short-term chart, still I'll call it deadly range, because if you are getting rejected here, now there is a lot of panic happening in the market, because we just understood, yeah, this is still playing out. The drama is happening in the market. Markets are going to actually react worsely. So you actually got the weekly close. By the time we get the next week open, people are preparing for the next month, and they would actually be a little bit bearish. So that probability cannot be neglected. Now, we haven't yet got a divergence which is positive yet. We are waiting to see that happening in the market. The only divergence which we had on this range is what we saw last time here, right? So we actually observed the fact that the price was showing you something and the RSI was showing you, no, I'm going the other way around. Now we want to observe the same exact thing for bulls. So if that bullish momentum actually comes in showing you we are moving up, Now that's going to be positive, because if you actually go look at a lot of different assets, say XLM, I can say like, okay, this particular asset has been whooped by the market. Whether it's the negativity, whether it's the thought process changing in the market, more or less, if you look at this particular asset, the market has been so volatile, has corrected massively, right? If you look at the market, the sentiment and all, I would say like, okay, maybe it's going to drop with Bitcoin if Bitcoin is to drop towards 24,000, right? And you may actually get a lower price point here. Agreed. But then I'm looking at this item, this asset, on a long-term chart, and I'm asking myself like, okay, where are we? Are we actually going down? Are we trying to bounce off? Where the hell are we right now? And it gives you a thought process like, okay, we acted as a support here, and that is where we are right now. So even if the price actually drops back to this particular trading range, I would personally assume that this is going to be a area where a lot of people who are involved in the payment space would look at this asset and say, okay, now that's massively undervalued. Look at the RSI, look at the macro. I think that's time to buy if Bitcoin is at the macro support at that time. If Bitcoin is showing you a divergence to move back to the upside at that time, that would be the strongest point if it's me looking at that asset. Now, yes, while you look at XRP, you can also put that argument here like, okay, now that would most likely be visible on a line chart rather than a candlestick chart on a weekly. You can put that perspective and say like, yeah, we are bouncing off from this level. We haven't yet gone against this divergence. We still have to build something to work on that. And if we come back to test this range of previous trend line support, that means you still have some more downside, right? So we would most likely go back to this range of 0.4 and 0.42. So that's the worst case scenario we are looking at. Otherwise, something goes so bad in the market, the fear, the panic, everything comes back in. Anyone who is still believing that the price goes up now thinks differently, and they are like, okay, I'm selling with the loss. They take that hit, and that's where the price actually drops. But now ask this question to yourself: do you think there is a lot more human beings in this market who survived the Terra Luna crash, the bankruptcies of Celsius and all others, and then the FTX crash? Because I would say like FTX crash was much, much bigger in that sense, right? Say for those who are from US, especially for you guys, that was a big one. But the price didn't actually drop like this because the majority were actually moved out of the market back then. Now you didn't have too much people to move out, and especially XRP was not trading in the US, right? So that was a positive. Now, for some time, we are not watching any bankruptcies, we are not watching any fraud for that matter, and that can still be positive while the market structure is reversing back. So considering this as an accumulation range where the price action is slowly trending to the upside, if we break the 0.53, 0.56 range and get a weekly close, that is going to be the pivotal point in my opinion. So while you actually maneuver in the market and look for a lot of different assets inside this asset class, make sure you also, not just looking at the price action, not just looking at the pattern, you try to consider almost everything possible from a weekly chart, from a monthly chart, whatever you get, look at that, because then you understand this is the momentum. Even if a short-term chart is showing you some bullishness, you know what the macro is showing, right? Because now if you get confused, go on to an inverted chart and see, okay, now the benefit for this is like your biases change. So if you actually look at this and say like, okay, I think there is a possibility that the price is making this as a pattern, we may go down. Now that's the question, like, okay, what does that mean? We may go down here, meaning this is the way. So you put it back to the scale and look like, okay, that does not look bad, right? On a daily chart, if it's showing you the price action can actually go do 100%, that's a decent ROI, right? Risk to reward. But to get a confirmation, what are you waiting for? A break out here in the pattern, right? So you actually plot this on the RSI and you get to see like, okay, we are also making a trend line support here. So if we break higher, that would be something to watch for, right? So that's the overall market. And if you're actually looking for a lot of these crypto assets to understand where the opportunities lie, where the risk factor is increasing, because when the market actually start to go up, you have a different thought process. When the market is dropping, you have an entirely different thought process, right? So that's something you need to keep in mind. Some of them are becoming a great buy opportunity. Some of them are like, okay, don't touch me right now because I may actually go lower, right? That point is there. So if you are thinking about that point and looking for a lot of these assets on a regular basis, then you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, that's it for today. If you like the video, please do hit that like button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.